एकम् अक्षरम् हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयम् लिख्यते कथम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् अहमिति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता वा पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवतु। देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्ततभावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः ओहं भावयुत कुतोऽवरधिया दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम् सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम्. Namo Ramana. In this the Thursday Satsangh from Ramanacentre Bengaluru. As usual, we'll be reading from the work Purvachaka Kovai by Muruganar Swamigal, which is a compilation of teachings of Bhagavan in verse form. We'll be referring to the English translation. We'll be reading 2 verses. Each verse reading will be followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that will be followed by 10-minute practice of Atma Ucharam. After these 2 verses, the meditation on the meaning and the practice are over, there will be a summing up by our president, Dr. Shataka, and that will be followed by an offering of Sri Ramanastotram by Vaibhavji and Pratnama. We begin the evening satsang by taking up the first verse given to us, 458. Apart from the introductory section, there are 3 segments to the work: investigation, meditation, and experience. investigation into truth, meditation on the truth, and experience of the truth. We are reading from the segment investigation into truth, and the subsegment is sleep. The subsegment from which we are reading is sleep. There is a note to the verse also, that is from Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. So I'll be reading both. First we begin with the verse 458. The ego, the embryo of manifestation, who suffers in the two states of waking and dream, imagining I am the one who sees. He is also the one who, by thinking I did not see anything in sleep, loses his greatness and gets mentally perplexed. The ego, the embryo of manifestation, who suffers in the two states of waking and dream, imagining I am the one who sees, I am the seer, is also the one who, by thinking I did not see anything in sleep, loses his greatness, which was falsely acquired in waking and dream, that I see, loses his greatness and gets mentally perplexed as to what happens in sleep. So we go through the account from Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. This is talk number 609. Bhagavan. The same person sleeps, dreams, and wakes up. The waking state is considered to be full of beautiful and interesting things. The absence of such experiences makes one say that the sleep state is dull. Before we proceed further, let us make this point clear. Do you not admit that you exist in your sleep? Questioner: yes, I do. I do agree that I exist in sleep. Then Bhagavan continues. You are the same person that is now awake, is it not so? You are the same person who was in sleep and now you consider yourself to be awake. Questioner: yes. Bhagavan: so there is a continuity in the sleep and the waking states. What is that continuity? It is only the state of pure being. There is a difference between the two states. What is that difference? The incidents, namely the body, the world, and the objects, appear in the waking state, but they disappear in sleep. There is a difference in the two states of waking and sleep. What is the difference? The incidents, namely the body, the world, and the objects, appear in the waking state, but they disappear in sleep. Questioner: but I am not aware in my sleep. The perplexed nature is brought out. The same ego loses its greatness and gets mentally perplexed. That is what the questioner reaches. But I am not aware in my sleep. Bhagavan: true. There is no awareness of the body or of the world. But you must exist in your sleep in order to say, I was not aware in my sleep. Who says so now? It is the wakeful person. The sleeper cannot say so. That is to say, the individual who is now identifying the self with the body says that such an awareness as in waking state did not exist in sleep. Because you identify yourself with the body, you see the world, and therefore these things were not. But what is the fact? There is continuity of being in all the three states, but no continuity of the individual and the objects. Sat Swabhava continues. We saw in the Ekashloki that Oham Bhava Yutah Kuto Varadiya Drishtatma Nishtatmana Soham Spurti Taya Arunachala Shiva Purno Vibhati Svayam. So, who existed in all the three states? If we inquire, then the Arunachala Shiva himself, the self, will raise an answer that he whom you are looking for is I, is Soham. The Anubhava is that. We get back to the verse. The verse is an investigation verse. It is not a meditation on the truth or an Anubhava of the truth. We should know that the verse is a discriminatory verse which reveals to us Viveka. What is the Viveka it reveals? Is that the ego, the embryo of manifestation, who suffers in the two states of waking and dream. That's a great teaching Bhagavan has hidden there. Bhagavan is not saying who enjoyed happiness and sorrow. No. The relative happiness is also clubbed as a suffering. It is not included as real happiness. Because we see in the preamble to Who Am I, real happiness is that which is unalloyed, is that which does not have a trace of sorrow and is not broken up. These are the two characteristics of real happiness. Every living being seeks to be happy without a trace of sorrow and always wants to be happy, not happy in the morning and sorrow in the afternoon. So these are the two characteristics of real happiness, that it is unalloyed, it is not mixed with sorrow, and it is continuous. Therefore, Bhagavan says here that in the waking and in the dream, where the ego comes out and manifests itself as I am the seer, I am seeing these experiences, then it is suffering. The ego, the embryo of manifestation, who suffers in the two states of waking and dreaming, imagining I am the one who sees, is also the same one who by thinking I did not see anything in sleep. In sleep we don't see anything. When the jnani asks, the sleep state is your real state, why can't you be like that now? Then the perplexed ego says, no, but I don't know what happened in sleep. It loses its greatness, whatever it held. I am a PhD holder, I am a doctor, I am an engineer, I have achieved these things, I am far ahead of all the other living beings, I am a human being. Now, these claims which were there in the waking state are totally absent in the deep sleep. And Bhagavan will use it throughout the talks to our total benefit. Whenever somebody comes with a deep sorrow, a terrible, terrible sorrow, really, even in the relative field, there is no doubt in any of our mind that it is terrible sorrow that has happened to that person. And Bhagavan would patiently, with all the compassion, would ask, was this present? Was this sorrow present just a few hours back when you were in deep sleep? No. Therefore, this sorrow is not real. You who existed in waking, dream and deep sleep, you are the real. Neither the temporary pleasures nor the terrible sorrows, therefore clubbing together those sufferings of the waking and dream, were not present in deep sleep, but the ego, because of its ignorance, is not aware of what it is. So what Bhagavan gives us is the Brahmastram of Atma Vicharam, to know who is the one who is continuously present in all the three states. So first of all, he asks us to sit in practice of Atma Vicharam. Slowly he says the Atma Vicharam will become our nature. Therefore, even when the body is moving, it will be able to practice Atma Vicharam. But initially, we do sit down like this and participate, let us say, in a group where the body, obviously the senses are not instruments which can perceive the Atman. Senses are capable of perceiving 20 meters from here, tasting something that touches the tongue and nothing more. They are highly limited. They are not capable of revealing the continuous and limitless Atman. So we keep the body still, and Bhagavan says, look at your thoughts. So, where does the jnani take us? From the waking state, he takes us to the dream state. He says that the conscious dream of thoughts arising, that's what drives you through the senses to the sensory world. So, if you can understand from where the thoughts arise, that is from where the world also arises. That is what he says to that lady, daughter of a solicitor from Chennai, when she asks, is all this world only my thoughts? Then Bhagavan tells her, after a few lines of discussion, he tells her, these were not in deep sleep. And as soon as you wake up, thoughts arise and the sensory world arises. Therefore, at the root, what else can these solid things be? They are only thoughts. So, what Bhagavan does, he makes us sit like this, not use the senses or try for answers in the sensory world. So, we convert this into the conscious raising of thoughts, that is in the conscious dream state. Now, he doesn't allow us to hold on to the dream. He says that when the thought arises, that is not you. The thought arising is not you. You are the continuous entity. The thought is now arising in this particular state alone. Therefore, let go of the thought and hold the continuous entity. For whom is this thought? For me. Who am I? The one who continues in waking, dream, and deep sleep. He is held. Till when? Till all the thoughts go blank. That means the deep sleep is brought now. The one who was perplexed by deep sleep is now facing deep sleep. That is facing the Chidakasha. The Chit Akasha, in which all the thoughts, the whole creation is present, is now in our vision. There is no perplexing in this, and that is Chinmaya Drishti. Bhagavan doesn't ask us to stop there. He asks, for whom is this blank? Who is seeing the Chidakasha? Still, the Atman is there. Therefore, one comes to the answer, this Chidakasha Darshanam is also for me. Who am I? Comes to Tanmaya Drishti. From Chinmaya Drishti, Bhagavan makes it Tanmaya Drishti because along with Chit, the being is there. That's why Bhagavan says in the talk, the pure being has not gone anywhere. That is our reality. To realize that pure being, which is present in waking, dream, and without perplexedly facing and looking at the deep sleep, which is the Chidakasha, where nothing is there but you and the Chidakasha, and still the Atman is there. Bhagavan says, who is facing this blank? Who is facing the Chidakasha? Me. Who am I? That is where this Purana, Soham Spurti Taya Arunachala Shivaha, Purno Vibhati Swayam. He shines beyond the waking dream and the perplexing deep sleep. With Bhagavan's immense grace, which has brought us to the sadhana of holding that one who continues in waking, dream, and deep sleep and is beyond all the three. Let us sit in practice of Atma Vicharam for 10 minutes. Now, Vaibhavji is there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'll set the time, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, sir.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय। Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang by going to the second verse selected for us, verse number 777. This is from the segment Meditation on the Truth, and the subsegment is the individual I. Meditation on the Truth, the individual I. Verse 777. There is a note by Muruganar Swamigal, a short note. I will be reading both. Verse 777. The Supreme Reality exists as the undivided space of true jnana. The Supreme Reality exists as the undivided space of true jnana when we become different from it and rise as a false I that frolics about and suffers. This constitutes the sin of destroying the non-duality by cleaving it into two, the I, Nan, and the God, Tan, thus bringing ruination upon the way of Dharma. Muruganar's note also let us read, then go back to meditating on the verse. Muruganar Swami will say, as Swarupa Jnana is free from the distinguishing attributes, it is undivided and unlimited. Since the ego splits the non-dual reality, the Atma Swarupa, into two, Jiva and Ishvara, its rising becomes the sin of killing it, the reality, by severing it into two. So the foremost dharma is only the ego-free state of Mauna. So the search here, the meditation is on what is the root of all sin or all adharma. What is the root of all adharma? Usually it is referred to as the injury to another conscious entity. Any action that causes an injury or the death of another conscious entity, those will be the underlying tests for adharma. But Bhagavan here gives us a more deeper cause, which is the rise of the ego, rise of the I thought. We had discussed earlier the discussion between Bhagavan and a few foreign ladies who have come to the ashram, where they ask about origin of sin, about the good and the bad. Since they specifically ask about good and bad, Bhagavan says there that the very origin of good and bad is the origin of sin. But here he gives us an even more deeper cause for origin of sin and where we can cut it off, where we can cut off adharma at the root. I read the verse again. The Supreme Reality exists as undivided space of true jnana. There is no division. There is no division in that consciousness. This space is Chidakasha. True jnana is the Chitta. Space is Akasha. So here the reference is to the Supreme Reality as undivided space. And Muruganar Swamigal adds one more nature, unlimited, undivided. There is no division in it. What causes the first division in the undivided, non-dual Chidakasha? What is the first division? When we become different from it. when I jump up and identify with this body, Nan in the Deham, I am this body, I am this identity, I am so and so. When I jump up and identify like that, that rise of the ego, when we become different from the Chidakasha, the undivided space of Jnana, the supreme reality, and rise up as different from it. I am different, you are different. Then we see many objects which are different from that, the undivided space, and we say this object is better than that object and start running after the objects. When we become different from the source, from it, and rise as a false I, what does that false I do? It frolics about and suffers. It says it plays around with the objects in the false and illusory divided space. It says this is better, that is less, this is more, and it starts suffering. That is the root cause. This constitutes the sin of destroying the non-duality by cleaving it into two. So, what is the root cause of adharma, of sin? Bhagavan says is the rise of the ego. So, if one looks to the rise of the ego and merges it back into the undivided self, then all the karma accounts are finished, are completely closed, because that whole area is transcended in the undivided self. No karma is left unfinished in the Atma Jnana, because that entire plane of doing and suffering is completely transcended in that merging of that ego, the frolicking ego, with that undivided space, that is the source. This constitutes the sin of destroying the non-duality by cleaving it into two. The cleaving is I, the non, and God, the Tan. So, the undivided space is now allotted the title as God, and I am separate from it, and I have my own individual happiness and sorrow, which is all sorrow, which is the origin of sin, says Bhagavan here. So, thus bringing about ruination upon the way of dharma. The adharma starts not somewhere in causing injury to another by either a wrong word or a physical injury. It's not as far away as that. Adharma has to be seen at its source. The very rise of the ego from the source, as I am separate from the source, is adharma, says Bhagavan. Now, what happens here is that one of the problems I have encountered in the overcoming of adharma is that when since I have walked from that side to Atma Vicharam, when we are walking the path of dharma, deliberately implementing the ethics, there is always this mind which judges the others, which judges the others are not applying that rule, are not living by that rule which we are living. Therefore, the relative dharma which I used to carry out, I used to observe, because we used to be in a satsang and two or three of us would try to live dharmically, not injuring others, living by the rules of work and all that. What used to happen is that we would always reserve a pride, an ego, that we are dharmic and so many people are not dharmic, they are adharmic. Now here, by taking us to the root cause, Bhagavan eliminates all that dissipation of energy. The judging of another is totally removed in this. It wastes so much of energy about what other is doing, whether they are right or wrong. The me and another itself is gone in this, because in the non-dual self, the first person, the second person, and the third person all merge into the self when the first person is merged into the self. This is the beautiful way of removing our account in the dharma. which brings us into the karma and makes us get stuck there. The easiest way to be free of one's karma is to do Atma Ucharam. And that is my personal experience. However complicatedly entangled the karma may appear, this Atma Ucharam will remove it like as though it was not there at all. Like clouds before the sun, it will all vanish because the entire plane is transcended. The entire karmic plane is transcended by asking, for whom is this karma? For whom is dharma and adharma? For me. Who am I? Let me go and merge in that undivided self. All my karma accounts, all dharma and adharma are together gathered, and along with the ego, they are all merged into the self, and the account is closed once and for all. Now, with Bhagavan's immense grace, let us work towards this. If we feel bound, if we feel that some certain things, certain thoughts about our past, dharma or adharma is afflicting us, let us use this Brahmastram, which will just burn them all away. In a trice, it will burn them all away, and the freedom will be felt directly in the inside. In the inside, it will be directly felt that there is no further thoughts about those areas which we were feeling before. They have been completely wiped off, and the Chidakasha and the Atma alone are there till such time that the entire area of dharma adharma is crossed and that entire area is gathered and merged along with the ego into the self. Let us practice Atma Ucharan. With Bhagavan's immense grace, this Brahmastram is definite and absolutely capable of removing all our karmas and merging us into the source. With his immense grace, which has blessed us with this powerful sadhana, with Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in the practice of Atma Vicharan for 10 minutes. Vibhuji, you will help us out again.
Yes, sir. I'll set the times.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय। Namo Ramana. I request our President, Dr. Sharadaka, to give us the summing up remarks. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. Bhagavan always takes us to the root. He does not keep us on the surface in any way. So he talks about the root of sin, the original sin being that the very rise of the ego, the rise of the I thought. So that's what Nandakumarji told us, that that is the root cause of adharma, that is the basis. And what does this do? This gives rise to sorrow. It gives rise to sorrow. When there is division, it gives rise to sorrow. In Ramana Stuti Panchakam, we have Satyamangalam Venkatramayar saying, Yen perum tuyaram nikai ekane yoga valve. O one, without a second, you who are that life-giving yoga, you who are the life of yoga. Yoga means union. Now, what Bhagavan is telling us here is that he says we have divided. So the division happens, then what happens? Perum tuyaram, great sorrow results. When there is division, immediately there is sorrow. So in the first verse, Bhagavan pointed out to us that non-knowing is sorrow, ignorance is sorrow. Deep sleep signifies non-knowing, ignorance. It leads to perplexity. See, in deep sleep, some of us may say that we are happy actually. We may not feel that we are sad. But if we equate the deep sleep to non-knowing, ajnana, if we don't know something, if we are in ignorance about something, then we feel unhappy about it. When we don't know, we are always unhappy. Oh, I didn't know about this. I didn't know about that. And lack of knowledge can lead to all kinds of problems. We are aware of that. Does knowing give us joy then? If not knowing is sorrow, if not knowing something is sorrow, why do we want to be educated? Because we feel that not knowing will put us in sorrow. We want to be educated. We want our children to be educated in various things. We teach them. We tell them this is right, this is wrong. We educate them. Why do we want them to know that? Because we feel that without knowing it, they will land up in difficulty. They will land up in sorrow. So, non knowing is sorrow. If that is the case, then knowing should be joy. Knowing should be bliss. But that is not the case, says Bhagavan. When we are awake also, in dreams also, when there is knowledge, there is sorrow. That's why Satyamangalam Venkatramayar says, Yen perum tuyaram nikai. I am in great sorrow. I am in great difficulty. Therefore, take me back to the life of yoga. That's why Bhagavan says, in Upadesha Saram, Bhagavan says, Jnana varjita ajnana hina chit. That self, our own true nature, says Bhagavan, is without ajnana. It is without jnana. It is without knowing. It is without knowing. Because the pair of opposites both lead to sorrow, both lead to difficulties. We can see it in our own lives. Sometimes I wish I had never known this, because The moment we come to know something, all the repercussions of that will come to us. We have to tackle everything until we know. Why is it that we all say, oh, my childhood days were so beautiful, so nice, and they were so wonderful because we didn't know much. We didn't know about all the difficulties of life. We didn't know about life and death. We didn't know about sorrow. We didn't know. But then there is the other side to it as well. If you're a child and you fall ill and you are suffering, you don't understand. There is perplexity. You don't know what to do with that illness. But if you're grown up, then you say, okay, I can go see the doctor. I can try to do something. Or if we are more grown up, if we've come to self inquiry, we can tell ourselves, yes, this illness will come. Yes, there is pain. Yes, there is difficulty. But this is not my true nature. So when the knowledge comes that this is not my true nature, the body is not my true nature, it seems to give us some relief. Surely knowledge gives us relief. So we do not want ignorance. We do not want darkness of sleep. We do not want the perplexity. We do not want to be in the dark, as they say. Don't keep me in the dark. So we do not want ignorance. But then the knowledge also gives us sorrow. It depends on our attitude to the knowledge. If we sometimes when somebody is ill, the doctors don't tell them, or the people around them don't tell them, no, you're very terminally ill, because they feel that if they come to know, they'll feel very worried. At the same time, there's a possibility that you can do something about it. So it's always ifs and buts. Both are ups and downs. Why? Because both are linked to the poison of identity. So long as one is functioning with identity, both will give sorrow alone. Therefore, Bhagavan asks us to go beyond this identity, beyond the duality of knowing and non knowing, beyond every duality, to get to the source of that ego by questioning it through self inquiry. And Bhagavan's grace is so immense that He allows us to look at the source. Whenever there is knowledge, He asks us to look at the source. Who knows this? And when there is absence of knowledge, who does not know? Until that I continues to exist, there is bound to be conflict, there is bound to be sorrow. There is, because it is the division, it is the primal division, it is the primal mistake, the primary error. And Bhagavan asks us to root out that primary error by holding on to the inquiry, who am I? Until all duality ceases and the I merges back in its source. Not only has He shown us this path, He is our guide from moment to moment. His gracious glance and His gracious inner presence will keep drawing us, keep pushing us and drawing us, pushing us from without and drawing us within until He fulfills His task of making us abide self. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramanaka. Namo Ramana Vaibhavji and Pratnama, we can start the chanting.
Yes, sir. Namo Ramana. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितम् श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योऽपि मात्रम् भुवनं समस्तम् गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः। ॐ महौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्दितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौळिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ च्यूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजदचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणस्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलऋद्बोधस्कन्धाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिलिङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिह्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋच्चान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्थिनिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रिशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणभगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवश तादात्म्यभावं गतः वृन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनासेकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संघिये सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ महर्षि नमो महर्षि। बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।